coincidence that we found her the same place where Will disappeared? Something is going on here!
What the hell?
She knows about Will!
Is there any way that you could reach him?
Yes.
What if this whole time I've been looking for Will? I've been chasing after something else.
Alright, so let's get into the spoilers, guys. What's the first thing y'all want to talk about as far as the spoilers goes?
I would say the very end.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me as a viewer, because they built up Elle.
Yeah.
And they sort of developed this relationship between her and Mikey.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is so cute.
It was
man,
really cute, and I loved both of the actors, but especially Elle. She was great. And at one point, like in the last episode, before what happens, they get their little moment to kiss. And Mike leans in and kisses her. And like for the first time, the whole series, like her eyes open like all the way, and she's like kind of like taken aback but kind of pleased.
Yeah,
and it was
she
so
smiled.
cute. Yeah,
she's like, oh, okay.
it was because he immediately like he had just got done telling her, no, I don't want you to be my sister. Like,
That was a good speech. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
When he's like, Nancy will be like your sister, and she's like, oh, you'll be like
She's like, you'll be my brother. He's like, no.
And you knew, you're like,
different plans.
Yeah, he was like, no, I want to.
He's had it. He's had different plans.
Which
for a
was
very
the really
long time.
sad thing, because he was setting up in his head for her to at least
Be
move in with him,
there
be part of their
forever,
family
yeah.
to some degree, and that's not what happens.
No.
She goes self-sacrifice, man.
She does. She sacrifices
Does
herself
she?
to finally destroy the creature. Well, true.
We'll see.
Or she extends herself further than she ever has before, and that doesn't necessarily mean the end of her.
Who knows what weird dimension she's stuck in is what I'm thinking. You know, although I can't take credit for the fact that she was the one who opened that rift. Remember after the second episode, I was like, I bet it's about telekinetic kids they're doing experiments on, and one of them opened up this portal to another dimension.
Well, I felt that was kind of obvious from the beginning.
Oh,
really.
I felt it was.
I wasn't
Discrediting
sure. I wasn't
me.
sure if they were.
I hadn't put that much thought into it. I just let it all unfold.
I thought it was
before
just
me.
a facility experimenting on different things, and one thing happened, and then this happened. Like they weren't really connected, other than they were just in the same facility.
Yeah.
I thought that she was definitely like there's something about the creature and her. Like I thought she was a little bit more involved with Will's disappearance because she knew him when she pointed him out. So I was hoping they were going to play on that a little bit more than they actually did. But
I was actually thinking in hindsight, she just realized, oh, that's the only kid I haven't seen in the photo, so it must be him.
No.
That was what I thought.
Well, because she immediately saw him and she was affected by it, and she's like, "Oh, that guy."
Oh, yeah, had she seen him on the upside down then? Or
She
like,
I feel like she must have.
Seen him, yeah.
She must have channeled him, or maybe like knew about it. That's why I thought maybe like because they got released around the same time. He disappeared at the same time she appeared in that same area. That maybe she ran into him. Maybe she was what was in the road when he veered off. You know, but when I rewatched it, it wasn't. It was definitely the creature.
That was what you were thinking initially, though, right?
Yeah.
You were wondering, yeah.
See, I thought initially that she was somehow also maybe the creature.
Yeah, no, we had that theory go around a little bit at one time.
Yeah,
maybe she was going through a change of some sort, but
Yeah.
I'm honestly thinking her breaking the necks and getting all pissed off probably coincided with the opening of the gate, with the escape of the creature, with the kid getting taken. I'm thinking it all happened pretty closely. You know? Close by. So
absolutely. Now, what else do we want to spoil? The fact that the cop. Well, I'm going to jump to the cop. I'm going to jump to the cop because he had a good story. His backstory is basically that he had a daughter that got to basically age 7. And he lost her, and so he had a vested interest in finding Will the entire series, and we didn't really know why, but we could tell he was kind of broken.
Yeah, sunken into this drunken depression.
I had a feeling. I mean, they set it up when he would kind of lied about his kid, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, she died a couple years ago."
Right.
And then
but we didn't know why until
we didn't know why.
See, I
but
thought she might have disappeared herself or was kidnapped, something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I was hoping that that's what it was. I was kind of hoping Elle was.
I was thinking that he would
but-
find her maybe in the upside down.
Some connection.
But then it was cancer.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Well, we're in this. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think it's just because it's just so like overdone these days. Like I guess they
It's
died of
still
cancer.
effective. I mean, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was back before.
I don't know. It wasn't effective
Yeah,
to
this
me.
was before
like,
cancer was super popular. Like, it is
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and also
That was back
before
before cancer was the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
I
in the
mean,
80s.
plus back when there weren't the same kind of treatments they have today, so
Yeah.
probably lower expectation for somebody
I
surviving.
mean,
so.
it was sad, but I guess it didn't affect me that much because I'm kind of just like, okay, I cancer, whatever. That's
You're
not
just
interesting.
numb.
It wasn't as interesting as something else. Like maybe
Fair
she
enough.
got eaten by a monster or abducted by
Well,
the
see,
shop,
I don't think they could have done that because they would have been like, man, it's too connected to this. Like, he has to have his own little story.
Well, and that's the
You
thing.
know?
We did find out that the monster was eating some people,
yeah.
but not all people. And I think the reason that Will survived the entire time was because he wasn't bleeding
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole time.
Because blood turned into
man,
a big thing.
That's
for
why
how
the king
animal
could
was
hone in on
tracking.
him.
Yeah.
He was able to continue
Wait,
hiding.
is that what happened with
Beth?
Beth?
Beth was bleeding in her
Barb.
finger, remember?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
remember?
right.
Because that's
Yeah.
how it found her and
Yep.
pulled her
So
in the pool.
anyone that was bleeding, it ate. But it wasn't. So
That's why it didn't
essentially,
have
the
eyes.
other big no,
Right.
no, it just had the
Yeah.
big flower face, which we'll talk about. But what I was going to mention is that Will survives. The kid that was missing the entire time gets found at the end by Winona Ryder
Can we
and
talk
the
about the
cop.
lights?
And he gets to
We'll talk
reunite with
about
his
it. We'll talk
friends,
about it. But yeah, so he gets reunited, but there's something not quite right about him at the very
Yes.
end
So
as
as
well.
you find out, which
Which
is also
is a
sowing
lead-in
more
to
seeds for
season
another
2.
season.
Exactly.
I thought
but
that was
yeah.
pretty cool.
I thought that was cool too. I was like,
And I love the
It's
fact
very
that he's
aliens.
hiding it.
yeah, yeah. There's something going on.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah, well,
alien-ish.
little bit,
Like
little
when they extracted.
When they rescued him and pulled that out of his
Yeah.
throat, oh
Yeah.
my god, that
That
was
was
kind of
impressive.
stomach.
X-Files, aliens.
Little
kinda-
bit.
A little
Yeah.
spoiler when he's like throwing up, and you see it. I kept thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like a
Slither.
Slither,
Yeah.
like the Comet or Creeps was, something like that, like parasitic.
Yeah,
Interesting. I was like, okay,
it's a way they can go in season 2.
And it's
you know?
and those types of movies from the 80s have their kind of own vibe as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like you can.
They
do
can
that.
change tones
Yeah,
in
which
season
might
2,
be
but still keep
interesting.
it 80s horror sort
We
of
can
theme.
move up to 1985.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Exactly.
little older. And
So I'm really interested
Yeah.
to see if they're going to keep with the same characters and just kind of evolve.
Oh, I
the
think
same.
they'll have to.
they
Yeah.
have to.
Well,
I
I
was
mean,
wondering
and you
if
know
it
the
was gonna
shop
do,
is
like,
still going
a-
to be involved because they didn't get totally vanquished. It
No.
was just like some of the people who were working with her directly were the ones who got it. But you just imagine this is very obviously a big government conspiracy from the statewide up through the federal level, and it was pretty deep, man.
I don't
Dude,
know
that
what
was pretty-
conspiracy is.
Oh no, it was totally conspiracy.
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Of course,
I
they
feel
were
like,
hiding
well, I
it
mean,
all.
they had the experiments and they were doing what they were doing. I
Well,
don't
they
know,
were
like,
planting
just-
dead bodies
big
with foam in
government.
them, and they
Well,
were,
like,
I mean, they were
the
going to
biggest one
extreme
was,
lengths to
like-
cover up shit.
Well, I don't know that it's a
when-
big government conspiracy or if it's just one company,
Yeah.
like the corporation
Right.
kind of thing.
I mean, when the sheriff talks about like MK Ultra, the LSD experiments and like the woman and all that, it's like those are conspiracies that I believe happened.
I was surprised they let him live when he broke in the first time.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But he is the
He's a
sheriff, the
figurehead
chief of
and-
police.
Yeah.
We did
So-
kind of talk
so-
about that, like where it would have probably brought more unwanted attention by killing them off.
Now, what did you want to mention about the lights, Marcia?
I love the whole usage of the lights, of how they communicated and between the dimensions.
That's how Winona Ryder was communicating with Will in the Upside Down.
And then later on, it's used to track the creatures. Also used to
see where they are.
where they are going, and to know if they're okay. Yeah, like
Upside down
1983
GPS,
GPS.
That's so fun. The whole
That
time I was
pretty
watching
cool.
this show and everything was going on, I was like, man, if this was now, all you have to do is like
Oh yeah,
call someone on the
Smartphone.
cell phone. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when she's leaving the house, she's in the car, she's going back in. It's like this is now like, all right, something's going on. I need to call my friend to get here, help me out, or
Or also when Jonathan and Nancy were buying all that ammo and all that stuff to go monster hunting,
Really?
we were just like, man, different
That would
times,
never
man.
Seriously.
happen.
Never
Small
fun,
town
no.
mentality and
Never
everything.
happen.
And
Just the
Kim did
use
that,
of
man.
energy
Probably-
in general. The
Yeah.
way
Yes.
they use the energy to like show like attack like go through the dimensions, and then the electricity, like they never explain Elle's like whole thing about electricity, like the whole
well,
big
she's
storm.
telekinetic.
yeah,
Yeah, but what does that have?
the
You
energy.
do things with your mind.
So how is the storm connected to that?
That
Like-
doesn't always have to do with
Yeah.
Like it's like during
electricity and
the
stuff, but-
thunderstorm, like she was like really affected by it. She was scared of like the thunder and the lightning and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was a little unexplained, but you know that's forgivable.
But that's something that they can touch on later on, and I feel
perhaps
because they didn't really explain the whole lighting aspect and the energy of it.
Wasn't like the electromagnetic?
Oh, the field.
The upside down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, she affected things.
Yeah.
But that was on purpose when they were trying to find Will and stuff like that. But, you know, I think the last thing we should probably talk about is the scares, being a horror show.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of cool, actually more than a couple of cool sort of jump scares and really creepy environments and scary creatures. I mean, the creature, we actually haven't talked about the creature itself.
I think it's because we don't know what it's called. Well, what did they call it in the show? The Dungeon and Dragons?
The
the Dangerberber?
Yeah.
Something like that. The
Gobblegon.
No, it was something like that. But it's basically a humanoid figure that has, you know, crazy musculature at times, but the biggest attribute is that when we first see it, it doesn't have a face. It almost looks like a full face arse face from Creature.
Kinda.
Where parts of skin are folded over other parts, and then when we see it in its full form, it like unfolds and it becomes like a flower where it opens up and like there's a skin flap, and one skin flap here, and teeth rounding all of the flaps, and then teeth rounding the throat as well. So it's basically a flower full of teeth that comes after you, and it's crazy.
Totally reminded me of Silent Hill and a little bit of John Carpenter as well, but like it maybe because of Upside Down World with the ashy effects and all of the decay and the slime and everything. It just, you have that kind of like, okay, at one moment everything is happy, glorious, the next moment everything is really dark and dangerous. And the creatures that were in this world really gave me that same kind of like scary effect and kind of brought me back into that kind of world, which I love. So, yeah.
Any other thoughts on it, you guys?
Other than that, it was great.
I did not like the fact that Nancy ended up with the douche. I thought that was kind of crappy, and I liked her, you know, thing going on with Jonathan halfway through, and yet I always
fully resolved.
always in the back of my head Jonathan was just kind of thinking. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but then hey, that's the way women are.
I just want to say one thing. The whole time watching it, am I the only one who felt like this kid Jonathan could play a young Stephen King if they did a movie?
Yeah.
Like throw some glasses on him and like,
I thought he felt like John Connor, like all over the place.
And for a while,
with the hair.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Peccary at the camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and dude, the biggest spoiler we got to mention is some foreshadowing that they did at the very end that Cecil liked so much that we rewound just to make sure we heard all of those bits 1 month later, where they do like the epilogue.
And the boys are playing D&D again, all four of them.
Just like at the beginning.
The group is back together.
It bookended it really interesting.
And basically they finish their campaign, they defeat the creature.
After 10 hours.
And a couple, you know, basically each of the guys outside of Mikey chimes in like, what about the lost knight? What about the proud princess? What about the flowers in the cave? And basically, they're like, oh, well, we'll deal with that another time. Like they kind of let it, you know, and I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute. And I rewound it and we listened to it again. And it was like, basically they're referring to the plot threads that are still dangling from the first season. They're so aware of it. They're saying,
smart
what about the lost knight, which is the cop? What about the proud princess?
Who's 11?
Which is clearly not 11.
I disagree.
Obviously,
what do you guys think?
It is obviously the sister because she was proud and she was the princess the entire time.
Everything was worked out in her story. She's
maybe it wasn't worked out. Like, she was still.
She still likes Jonathan. She's giving him a camera.
And I also mentioned that.
And the flowers in the cave are the eggs they found in the forest.
They saw hatch.
At
There's
the
more
time
monsters.
they were talking about this, we had already said that, like, well, what happened with his sister? So, like, they
Exactly.
hadn't buttoned up. Like, yeah, she
I
made-
wasn't. I was thinking Elle was still alive, and I want to know about her. I don't care about Nancy. She's got her own shit.
Yeah. Anyway, Fuego's wrong. It was the sister. But anyway, so that's I think gonna cover it for our discussion of the first season of Netflix's Stranger Things.
And we say first season because our fingers are so firmly crossed for more.
There's no
of
way
this.
there can't be a second.
There's no way.
This is
This
amazing.
was so received so well,
Yeah.
but we're gonna run into the danger of the '80s sequelitis. Will it not
Just do 3
live up?
seasons.
No. Will it not live up to the original?
The
Will
original?
it completely fail in living up to
I
the
have
original?
faith. I totally have faith. They did
Yeah.
such a great
The
job.
Duffer
hoping-
Brothers are good.
I'm
Maybe
hoping
that's
they
why
get
Goonies
more
2 is
money
just
and we can do more practical effects.
Amen.
I think so
Just a
too.
little more
yeah.
practical.
I think they should get some more money allotted to them after the success
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the amount of praise being heaped on it from like everybody, and rightfully so. This is one of the few times where it lived up to the hype, and I was
Yeah.
very impressed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that's going to do it, you guys. Thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime and Fuego.
Luis Hernandez.
Marsh, Parker.
And until next time, remember,
Stay scared.